How's it going, Welcome back to the Great Green North. Welcome to another lawn care video. Today we're going to be talking about, do I need chemicals to have a nice lawn? And this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while, and this is actually the reason that I created my channel. For those Canadian viewers or those American viewers that do not have access to chems, like people in Connecticut or anything like that, make sure you watch all the way to the end of this video, because I'm going to try to change your attitude about chems and lawns and whether you need chems to have a nice lawn. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So for those of you who don't know, up here in Canada, we have had basically a ban on any registered pesticides for residential lawn use. These bans came in the early 2000s, and they pretty much sticked around for a good period of time after that. So anything here in Ontario, you're not allowed to use 2,4-D, quinclorac, any of those chemicals, and even Roundup now is becoming even heavily more restricted. You're not allowed to use Roundup on anything other than driveways and sidewalks. So a lot of this stuff has been heavily regulated by the federal government. And whether you think this is a good or bad thing, today we're going to be talking about why you don't need chemicals to have a beautiful, green, and healthy lawn. So those of you who've been following the channel for a while, you know that I do not spray my lawn for anything. I do not apply pre-emergence. I do not apply pesticides. I've never treated my lawn for anything since I've been starting my lawn care journey. And look at it. Look at these clips of my lawn. It's just as beautiful as some of the lawns in the United States. Sure, it might not go without its issues. I have had fungus problems. I had fungus problems last year. I have had disease problems. I have had some invading weeds. But there's other ways you can approach this, rather than just running straight to a chemical. And for those of you, my US friends too, the chemical bans are going to come all around the world eventually. It's just the way that things are going. So I know a lot of people who have animals and the young children too, and they don't want to be spraying chemicals on their lawn. So let's talk about some of the ways that you can help strengthen your lawn without chemicals. So obviously, the best treatment for lawn without chemicals is a thick, healthy stand of turf grass. And I know a lot of this statement angers a lot of people, because a lot of people go, well, how am I supposed to get that without using chemicals? And let's start from the beginning. So when I talk about my fall renovation process or renovating your lawn, I always say, does your lawn have more than 30% grass? So if you look at your lawn, it's full of weeds, but you have 30% grass. You can take that from that 30% to that 80% very easily. One fall, you can oversee, you can fertilize, you can mow often, you can push out those weeds without using any chemicals. So there's a lot of these weeds. Now, they're opportunistic weeds. Basically what they're looking for is nothing to compete against. And as soon as that competition comes in, those weeds get pushed right out. And turf grass is a very, very resilient plant. Turf grass grows on the side of a highway, and nobody treats it. It gets cut twice a year, and that is the turf grass that we, have become to know and love. So turf grass itself is a very good weed control at pushing out weeds. So the only time that you really need to be worried about weeds is when you're overseeding, or when you're starting a project. That's when the weeds are really going to help fight back and take over your lawn. But if you're starting a project, don't think about the weeds. The problem here is it's an attitude problem. People are focusing on the weeds. You need to not think about the weeds. Forget about the weeds. The weeds are going to do their own thing. What you need to think about is your lawn. Your lawn is what you can control. You cannot control the weeds here in Ontario, but you can control your lawn. And controlling your lawn can reactively control the weeds at the same time. So, fertilizing heavily, following, heavy nitrogen in the fall, you're going to be applying liquids in the spring, following those processes, following my program. That will help strengthen your lawn, get it thick enough to the point where you're pushing out those weeds. Another thing that we can do here in Canada too is irrigation. I know some municipalities have watering bans, but irrigating just a little bit during the summer, helping keep your lawn alive. Even if you're still dormant, irrigating enough to keep it alive will help keep the weeds at bay during that summertime. Keeping the weeds at bay is always what we're looking for. We're not looking, to get rid of all of them, but as long as we can keep them at bay, then we can get to the point where it's manageable. And talking about manageable, you can pull weeds by hand yourself. You can go around and pull weeds out by hand. And every year I have one of these stand-up weed pullers, and I go around my lawn and I pull dandelions. There's only about 50, 60 that I get in a year that blow in from my neighbors' places, but I go around by hand and I pull these dandelions before they seed into other dandelions. And every year, the number of dandelions I pull gets smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually one year I'll only be pulling 2 or 3 dandelions a year. But this is the work that you have to put in to get rid of these weeds. You know, although pulling dandelions seems like a lot of work, if you go out and say, oh, I'm going to do this, 2 foot by 2 foot section a day for, the next week or the next month, and then by the end of this, I'm gonna have all my dandelions taken care of. This is something that you can do, something that you can manage, something that you can control to help get on top of the weeds and stop the weeds from, getting at you. So again, focus on the lawn, not the weeds. When you're focusing on the weeds is when you're gonna become discouraged, you're not gonna become happy, and you're not gonna be able to get on top of that and take care of the weeds. So let's talk about a couple other ways you can manage weeds yourself. So if you have a really, weed-filled invasive lawn, you just bought the house and you're really looking to take it over, there's a couple options. Number one, you can try to till the whole thing up, resod or reseed the whole new thing. If you're gonna till, I would definitely recommend sodding over seeding, especially if it's really heavy weeds. The sod will help keep the weeds at bay. If you seed, the weeds might come back in before your seed takes a hold. It takes up to 12 months for seed to take a hold. So sodding is definitely a way to get rid of that. Another way is if you have patches of weeds in your lawn, you can always dig those up and just resod those areas as well. So for example, if you had a big patch of clover that keeps coming back every year, you keep trying to take care of it, with the home remedies, the vinegar and that stuff, and you can't get rid of it, maybe just dig that patch of clover up, make it level with your turf and add, 3-4 rolls of sod, fill that back in, water it, and you probably won't have that clover problem in the future. So these are ways that you can keep the weeds at bay, work at it on a micro level, get the weeds out, and that's gonna help, slowly improve your lawn over years. And that's the thing about the weed control up here in Canada. Because we can't do weed control, or because, anywhere in the world, if you don't wanna do weed control, you gotta think of it in a smaller portion. There's weeds here, there's weeds here, there's weeds here, and you're gonna deal with it that way. You're not gonna go around and try to spray out all of the weeds. You're gonna try to deal with it on a weed for weed basis. And that's gonna help you slowly, progressively over the next couple of years, get it to the point where, every year you can go pick, 50 weeds, and that's it for your season. If you have a really, really bad weed problem, the other thing you can do up here, anywhere, you can go and hire a lawn care company that has the right to, apply some pesticides or herbicides to take care of the weeds. Just one-time thing, hire them to come spray out the weeds, or hire them for a season to spray out weeds. Even here in Ontario, we can still spray what is basically called Fiesta. It's a nitrogen-based product. Basically what it does is it poisons the weeds through nitrogen. It's not as effective as the registered weed controls, however, it does still work. So hiring lawn care companies like that to take care of your weeds can really help improve your lawn over the next couple of years. So those are some simple ways to take care of your lawn without using weed control. This is becoming a reality across the world, and it is going to be something we're going to have to deal with. Agricultural professionals are going to have to deal with. Sports field, golf course professionals are going to have to deal with coming up very soon. So, there's lots of ways you can deal with it. The biggest message is don't give up. Don't give up just because, you think that you lost these products. There's always ways to do things. Years back, turf professionals took care of golf courses, took care of sports fields before all these registered herbicides came into effect. Some of these herbicides are fairly new, and there's ways that they did things before. So there's always ways to work on it. So don't give up. Focus on the lawn, not the weeds. The best weed control is a healthy standard turf grass. So make sure you keep that in count for the upcoming 2023 lawn season. The Great Green North, my name is Wade Murray. If you have any other questions, make sure to email them to me, greatgreennorthlawncare@gmail.com, or you can submit them through my website, greatgreennorthlawncare.ca. If you guys are looking for more lawn tips, check out my entire channel. I have plenty of great spring, summer, fall lawn tips on this channel. And for those of you all across the world, I really want lawn care professionals like us to start pushing these messages that, making sure that you don't need these weed controls, you don't need these things to take care of your lawn. And Ryan Knorr and Ryan DeMay had a really good conversation on the Turfcast podcast recently about that. I had a great conversation with Ryan DeMay when he was on my podcast, so I'm going to link that video at the end of this video. And let's try to help change this attitude about weed control and how we can do things without weed control, and we can take care of our lawns ourselves. We can put the weeds out of our head and focus on the lawn and help deal with it that way. So from the Great Green North Lawn Care, my name is Wade Murray. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, keep keep it green.